Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for one of our sessions with Critical English. We're looking at grade 7, and today's topic will be based on comprehension. And I know we did this topic before, so you might be thinking, why are we doing it again? So, the last time we looked at comprehension, we were looking at context clues and looking for inferences within the passage and whatnot. This time, however, we want to look at questions, both how to answer questions and what kinds of questions we should ask when we're reading a passage or so forth. Today, we have one soul soldier with us, Azaria. Thank you for coming with us today. And I hope I don't ask you too many questions. Yeah. So notice that word I'm using a lot, right? Questions. Can you draw in the ear for me what a question mark looks like? Good. So remember when we were doing types of sentences, we talked about some sentences can end with a question mark and it asks a question, right? And there are reasons for asking questions. There are different types of questions as well. But I'm going to start with the most easiest thing today. So maybe you can ask me a question and we're going to go take it from there.
Not sure.
You're not sure? All right, I'm going to ask you one. Do you drink a lot of water during the day?
Most of the time.
Most of the time. All right, so you can ask me a similar one. Maybe about fruits or water or beverage or so. No? All right, we're going to come back to you later too, because we still have to ask some more questions, right? So let's go to this one here. Tell me, what are you seeing in the photo on screen?
The forest?
The forest, excellent, the forest. So why is it the forest? Why are you saying it's the forest?
Because it has trees.
Trees, definitely. It looks a bit dark. It's a lot of green. And what's coming through between the trees? The leaves. Sunlight, exactly. So if you're seeing the sunlight coming through, then that tells us it's actually a dark place, but we're just seeing the sunlight coming through. Very good. So we have the forest there. And what are you seeing here? Now, you may not be seeing it very large on the screen, but the title there is Animals from the Jungle. Can you recognize anyone that's... Are you recognizing anyone that's there, Azaria?
Tiger.
There's a tiger, excellent.
An elephant.
An elephant,
A frog.
A frog. And in Guyana, what's another word we use when we want to talk about a frog? Maybe you have heard other people use this, or maybe you have used it yourself.
Toad.
Okay, so toad is a different thing, but yes, they're very similar. But what's the Guyanese word that we say when you see a frog in the yard? I'm sure you've heard it. Have you heard the term crapo before?
Yeah.
Good. So another Guyanese word for frog is crapo. And it's a funny thing with the word. And if you look closely again, you're going to see something with wings. What's that thing with wings?
Parrot.
It's a parrot, possibly a macaw with the red and blue feathers and spread out like that. And what's the thing above the macaw there? It's very black and it has 4 limbs and it looks furry.
Monkey.
A monkey. Looks more like a gorilla too, huh? Then we have above that a toucan. So you can tell a toucan because of the size of its what?
Of its beak.
Its beak, right? So it makes a lot of noise sometimes when it's like... No, that's a woodpecker. I think I'm mixing up a toucan with a woodpecker. And then above that we have a sloth. So they're very slow and they move and they sleep a lot and whatnot. So when somebody say you're lazy like a sloth, then they're referring to that animal. Then you have a snake there that's possibly a python or an anaconda. I'm not really sure. Below that we have an alligator or a crocodile. It's a big difference, but I can't tell you the difference right now. You have a monkey and you have an ant there. So there are lots of different animals. Have you ever seen any of these animals before in your life?
Yeah.
Which ones?
Frog.
Frogs. Ant.
Parakeet.
Parakeet. Okay, great. Excellent. So we'll start.
Monkey.
And monkey. Very good. In the zoo? Or outside of the zoo?
At the zoo.
At the zoo, very good. So we have tiger on the list here, but do we have tigers in Guyana naturally? Do we have tigers in our forest? No. So just wanted to point that out. Very good. So now I want us to listen to a song, and I already have it opened here. So we're going to listen to this song. I just want you to listen to it. Donkey say me fuss, I imagine, you know I love the cricket. Crabbo sit down behind the stumps, he say alright, I keep it wicked. Giraffe and kangaroo and fine leg, snake down in the gully. Umpire parrot in the tree, he say alright. Alright, so I know a lot of you have been watching cricket lately, and we're disappointed by the loss today, but we're gonna go again. So far from the song, you've picked up it's about what? Okay, so the title, Forest, possibly, yes. The title for this particular song is Cricket in the Jungle. So we're going to analyze this song, and we're going to try to ask questions about it and answer questions about it. So I'm going to play it back from the start, and I want you to just make notes about things that you will remember from the song. So as you're listening to it, just make a few notes. And it's a really nice Guyanese song by Dave Martin, our very own. Well, I hear a story from Ken Corsby. Cricket came in the jungle Sunday morning right after church. Big crowd assembled. Donkey say me fuss, I bat it. You know I love the cricket. Crabbo sit down behind the stumps, he say alright, I keep it wicked. Giraffe and kangaroo and fine leg, snake down in the gully. Umpire parrot in the tree, he say alright fellas, are you ready? And the one, the crowd, start to sing, very loud if you hear them. Hit the ball, donkey hit the ball. Cover drive him and make him ball. Hook the man like Ali Charan and put him straight in the stand. Elephant turn and pick up the ball. He say, I open the bowling. Monkey say, boy, his size are you? If you say you're bowling, you're bowling. Well, elephant walk about half mile, and then he started running. He coming down like an express train, the whole blasted jungle shaking. When he see elephant coming down, oh donkey started. Alright, so I'm gonna stop it there, and you can listen to the rest of the song when you're home. What we're gonna do now is look at the lyrics of the song, and the lyrics are going to be right here. So let's go in presenter mode. Alright, good. So you have it there on screen. Is it a song you've heard before, Azaria? You've heard it before, but it's probably not a song you would just go and randomly play on YouTube, right? You might hear others or maybe older persons play it, but it's a very interesting song. So we're going to go through it, and so far you were making some notes. What are some of those notes that you made?
People screaming in the background.
Who's screaming in the background? People screaming in the background. All right, good. Have you seen a cricket match before too?
Yeah.
And people are screaming? So the song basically mimics like a cricket match, and so persons running and bowling and batting and so forth. But were there persons in the song? Or is it persons playing?
No.
Who was it playing? Animals were playing, right, in the jungle. All right, good. So if we look on the screen, you'll be able to see the lyrics of the starting of the song. And keep in mind it's written or it's sung in Creole, so it's not going to be standard English, but that's fine because we understand Creole too. Cool? I hear a story from Bill Cosby, cricket game in the jungle. So we got that part already. Sunday morning, right after church, big crowd assemble. Can you imagine this happening? Yeah? Donkey said, me fuss, I batting. You know I love me cricket. So Donkey said that. Crapo, okay, I missed the page, sorry. Crapo sit down behind the stumps. He said, all right, I keeping wicket. So we understand what's happening so far, right? One is batting, one is keeping wicket. Giraffe and kangaroo at fine leg. Snake down in the gully. Umpire parrot in a tree. He said, "All right, fellas, all you ready?" So now they got an umpire, they got a batter, they got somebody who's keeping wicket and so forth. You know all those things, right? Chorus now. And so this is the part that they keep singing all over and over. And the ones in the crowd start to sing very loud. So this is the part you were talking about, right? They're making a lot of noise. Hit the ball, donkey, hit the ball, because donkey is the one who's batting. Cover drive him, man, make him ball, or another word for that is scream. Hook the man like Kali Charan and put him straight in the sand. So, with the whole cricket experience basically. Elephant turn and pick up the ball. He said, "I opening the bowling." So, what about elephant size? Would he be as... Because the other animals were like parrot, crapo, which is a frog, and was it donkey or something? The elephant size in proportion to these animals would be much bigger. So when he says something, do you think that they're going to disagree with him? No, because they're like, okay, if you say so, it's so big man, right? Boy, monkey say, boy, the size of you, if you say you're bowling, you're bowling. So who's the bowler?
Donkey. The elephant.
Elephant, exactly. He coming down like an express train, the whole blasted jungle shaking. When he see elephant coming down, poor donkey start to shiver. Red ants hit him couple bite. Man, look, get yourself together, that. So even the ants are having a war going on, right? So again, we have the chorus here now. Elephant galloping like a horse, he jump up high and deliver. The ball come down like thunderbolt and bust the bat into splinter. Are you following so far?
Yeah.
So the ball come down like a thunderbolt and bust the bat into splinter. Liquid the wicket, liquid crapo, liquid snake in the gully. So that's the force of this ball here, right? Just taking everything down. Lick down giraffe and kangaroo and gone whistling down to the boundary. Red ants lie down flat on the ground. He said, "Lord, this elephant crazy. He must think he is Colin Croft, Thompson, or Dennis Lilly." So next one, final one now. Scatteration out on the field. So show me the action that could tell us scatteration is happening. Are they staying in one place?
No.
So use your hands to show me how are they going to
They
go.
run all over.
All over, right? So scatteration out on the field. You know when school over and everybody trying to get home and everybody run out to school?
Yeah.
Every man Jack was hiding. Crapo lie down like if he dead. Giraffe and kangaroo limping. Then Mr. Parrot, the umpire, say, "All your wholesome strain. Elephant, that was no ball. Donkey to bat again." So if it's in a no ball, it means that the ball, when he threw it, it wasn't counted. So you got to throw it again. You behind safe up inside the tree. No ball, me tail. I out. And he turned to the crowd and said very loudly, all you talking about hit the man, but all your backside inside the stand. Send some other jackass to bat. This jackass finish with." So remember, another word for donkey is also jackass, right? So that's him talking there. Good. So that's a lot of things going on there, right? And I'm sure you wouldn't be able to remember all, but we're going to try to answer these questions that are here. But these questions here we're going to work with them as they are, and then we're going to try to make them fit to the song that we just read, listened to, etc. Can you read the questions for me that are in the capital letters, please, at the side? Who, what, where, when, why, how. Are these all words that you're familiar with? You've heard them before, you've used them before, okay? Good. So the first one, who was the most important character? So this person who was singing here, was he just singing with one or two characters?
No.
So I want you to list at least 4 characters that you remember from the song. Donkey. Who was bowling? Elephant. Who was the Red ants was there too.
And
somebody was the umpire and he was in the trees.
yeah, the bird.
The parrot? Was it the parrot? I think it's the parrot, yes. It's the parrot. And we forgot the crapo too, right? That would be number 5. Good. So the most important character, this doesn't have just one important character. It has several important characters because they're all playing the game of cricket, right? So maybe you can make a note down of those important characters next to the question who. So you write the question who and put those characters' names. Who caused harm? So now this here is an open question as who caused harm? And our game wasn't about harm, or our story wasn't about harm. So what's a question we can replace this one here with? A who question about our song. There wasn't any harm there. So what's another who question we can ask?
Who was batting?
Who was batting? Excellent. Make a note of that. Who was batting? Can you remember who?
Donkey.
I think Donkey was correct. Yeah, he was batting. Good. And if we wanted, we can still bring in who caused harm, because remember, Elephant is very strong. So when he bowled the ball, it was breaking up the wickets and the bat and so forth. And everybody was running in scatteration. Remember that part? Mm-hmm. So if we can still ask this question, who caused harm? Or we can say who was very powerful, and we can say, what will be the answer to that question? Who was bowling and breaking up everything?
The elephant.
Elephant, right? So it can still work if we use that. Now the other question now is what? What if? And then it has those ellipses there, meaning we have to complete the question that's being asked. What if? So I'm going to ask you the other question first. What could have changed the story? What could have changed the story?
If the elephant wasn't playing?
If the elephant wasn't playing, there wouldn't be scatteration when he bowled the ball and hit everything up, right? And was breaking everything up. Good. What could have changed in the story? So if you had replaced the elephant with somebody else batting, maybe an ant, let's say bowling, an ant wouldn't be very strong, so the ball may not even move in the first place, right? So the story could have changed there. Let's come up with another what if question. What if? Remember, our story or our song is Cricket in the Jungle. So let's come up with a what if question. I'm going to give you one and you can come up with another one. What if they were playing football in the jungle? Maybe somebody might have kicked the ball, and that could have also caused some persons to probably get injured. We don't know if the ball gets hit their head or something, right? So ask another what if question.
What if there was a race?
A race. What if there was a race? See, if you put all these animals to run, who's going to win, basically, right? Excellent question. Let's look at the other question. Where? So one of this is, where have you found this problem? So the problem in this story, let me see if you figure out what the problem was so far, and if not, I'll help you. What was the problem?
The elephant broke everything.
Good, he broke everything when he bowled the ball, right? Good. So that was the problem. And everybody got scared and were running around and whatnot, right? Good. So we identified the problem in the story. Where can you get more information? Is there anywhere you can get more information about this story? Remember, although it's a game they were playing, it's also cricket, right? So if you want to learn more about cricket matches, for example, or the rules of cricket, where are some places you can go? If you have a question that you don't know the answer to, who do you ask, or where do you go to get answers?
A library?
A library. Do you actually go to a library though? It's difficult to go to a library every time you have a question, right? So what are some other things you can do?
Google.
You can use Google, type in your question, and if you're around somebody who has more experience than you can ask them. Can you remember asking your mom about something that you didn't know the answer to? Almost every day you ask her something. And sometimes she doesn't have the answer, she has to go research too, right? So that's the whole thing. We always have to keep asking these questions. The other question is when. When is this acceptable? For example, a game of cricket. Even though it's a great game, and even though you can have a lot of fun, would playing a game of cricket in the classroom be appropriate? No. So old people have this saying, there's a time and place for everything. So for example, people wouldn't eat if they're in the washroom, right? Because the washroom, you're not supposed to take food there because you could get sick if you try to eat it there. So when is this acceptable? Cricket is acceptable if you're playing it on the field, for instance, right? Or you're doing it during PE time. So you can't do it at school during certain times or break or lunch or whatever the case is. But it's not always acceptable in all settings. For instance, if you go to church on a Sunday, perhaps, if you worship on a Sunday, and would it be appropriate to play cricket in the church? No, because they're there for a different reason, right? Good. So when is this acceptable? Good. So that's the answer to the question. When does this become a problem? So it falls into the same question we were asking about cricket and when and where you can play it and those kind of things. Sometimes the problem isn't cricket itself, but it's sometimes persons' responses to it, because fights can break out if people aren't happy with how their team played. Sometimes fights can break out, so sometimes it can become a problem if persons get too emotionally involved. Have you ever seen a fight break out because people weren't happy their team lost or something? No? Okay, well, you haven't been around the fights then. That's good. So the other question is why? And it asks here, why is this a problem? But we don't want to focus too much on the problem part because our story was more about the game and blah, blah, blah. So let's ask another why question. Replace that question for me. Ask a why question about the song or about the cricket thing that was happening in the song.
Why are animals playing?
Why are animals playing? Also, why are animals talking? Right? Excellent question. So the other one is, why is this important? Or we can probably shift this around to cricket. Why is cricket important to us? Why do we like cricket? Can you think of any reason?
A leisure activity?
It's a leisure activity, excellent. And it has become a great Guyanese sport and a Caribbean sport, so sometimes it brings people together. So it's important because people get to socialize and they get to cooperate and they get to cheer for their team. And like you said, everybody's happy, right? Because they're having a grand time. Excellent. And if you think about this question more on a grander scale, you can also think of tourism. Because if Guyana is promoted as a country that is excellent at cricket or loves cricket, and people who like cricket from other countries are going to want to come to see it as well. So let's go to our how question now. How is this similar to, and you got to finish the sentence there. So how, maybe this song, is this song similar to another song that you know? Or is the game of cricket similar to another game that you know? No? Okay, so it's not similar to anything that you know. What about animals talking? Is it similar to a movie that you've looked at?
Some.
Think of the name in the meanwhile, right? Next question is, how would you feel if? So I want you to ask me a question based on the song. How would you feel if? Just complete it for me, please. Okay, so one I can think of is, how would you feel if elephant sat on the ant? He'd probably die, right? Because elephant would be huge and he would be tiny. Okay, so you can ask. It doesn't have to be a sensible question. It could be a silly question. So don't try to think too hard on it. So start with, how would you feel if?
How would you feel if the other team won and the others didn't?
Good. So how would you feel if the other team won but yours didn't, maybe, right? Like what happened today. So I think I would feel disappointed that my team didn't win, but I will accept whatever results or whatever score they got. What about you? How would you feel if your team won and the other team lost?
I'll feel good.
You feel good, right? You want to go support them again the next time. All right, great. So we had a lot of fun with these questions here: who, what, where, when, why, and how. So I'm not going to ask you to create one question each, but given the questions that are here, you can see them on the screen as well. Which one is the easiest to answer? What type of question is easier to answer for you or easiest to answer for you? And which one is more difficult for you to create using the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, and the how? So first one, which one is the easiest to answer out of those?
The who,
The who question is very easy. Very nice. Any other?
the how,
The how. Most people don't like how questions because you have to elaborate on it. You can't just say yes or no. You have to explain yourself because it asks how. It doesn't ask can you make a hat. It says how would you feel if you make a hat. So now you have to think about a long response to give. So some people don't like the how question, but I'm glad that you like it. What about the one that is most difficult to answer? Or sorry, the most difficult to create. If you had to create a question, which one would be the most difficult to create? Which one of those words?
what,
What? Oh, that's interesting. Most persons are quite comfortable with what. What is your name? What school did you go to? And those kind of questions. All right, so I think we managed to complete a lot of things today. And do you have any questions for me based on the song, based on these questions, or anything you would like to ask? No? It was easy peasy?
yeah.
Yeah. So the other question is, I'm going to ask you a different one from here. Do you miss Alicia? Because she's not here with us today.
Most likely.
Most likely. All right, so I'm going to ask you a more difficult question now. Why do you miss Alicia?
We talk together sometimes.
You talk, and so she's not here for you to talk with, so it's kind of lonely too, right? Yeah, and it's kind of weird being the only student in somebody's class too, right? Because there's nobody else to answer the questions but you. But I think we had a fantastic time. Do you think so? All right, so I would just want you to keep this in mind. Next time we're gonna go a little bit more on comprehension, but I wanted us to do a little bit of role playing. So instead of me being up here, I want you to be here. And if Alicia come, you guys can have like a conversation, and we're gonna figure things out. Do you think we can work on that? Yeah. You have a week or a couple days to prepare. So thank you so much for joining us for the live. We had a great time by ourselves, and we were hoping that you had a great time with us too. And if you didn't, we'll try to make it a bit more interesting the next time. Have a great week and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. See you on Thursday, and look out for the math session coming up with Miss Najima. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Critical Math, grade 6 to 7. And today we are looking at integers, more specifically addition of integers. And to kickstart our concept today, we are going to use some manipulatives. So let me just get them out. So we have some tiles here. As many of them as possible. I'm going to take the bigger ones out. Alright, so what's going to happen? The blue tiles we are going to consider as positive, and the red tiles we're going to consider them as negative numbers or integers. Alright? So let's get as much as possible here. Here you go. There you can collect them because Alicia is absent today, so you're gonna have fun with these tiles. Alright, you can have some of these as well. So put the blue ones. Right, so remember the red would be considered negative and the blue would be considered positive. Alright, so as it relates to our concept today, so we will add integers with the same signs, and we will also add integers with different signs. Alright, now at primary school you would have done addition and subtraction of numbers which were either natural numbers or whole numbers, right? So at the secondary level, excuse me, is that fine? All right, and so at the secondary level, you would do other numbers, all right? So the numbers that we're looking at today are integers, and integers involve both positive and negative numbers. All right, and so our focus today is on integers with the same signs as well as integers with different signs. All right, now the key point here to note is that if a number has no visible sign, it means that the number is positive. All right, so for example, so if you see the number 7, it really means positive 7. All right. So sometimes you may see us write the positive in front of the number to indicate it's positive, or sometimes you may see the number without that positive sign, right? So if the number has no visible sign, it means the number is positive. You think you follow? Mm-hmm. Right. So a number such as, if I have -3, that indicates that the number is negative. All right? So this indicates the number is negative. And if I have 2, all right, that indicates the number is positive. Right? Which can also be positive 2. Right? So sometimes the numbers relates to integers. Sometimes you hear other persons say directed numbers or assigned numbers. Right? So the other terms they may use would be directed numbers, or assigned. Right? Just to indicate that the numbers have signs, whether it's positive or negative. All right. So that brings us to addition of integers with the same sign. So we can add numbers with the same sign, and the same sign can either be both of them being positive or both of them being negative. So for example, if I have 2 plus 5, you know what the result is going to be, right? So it means that is a positive 2 added to a positive 5. So this is a positive 2 added to a positive 5. That is what it is saying in essence. So what you're going to do there for me is that we know the answer is what?
10.
What kind?
10.
5 and 2, we're adding.
Oh.
Yes, 5 plus 2 or 2 plus 5 will give us 7. So we know our answer is 7. So if we notice what happens, so we have a positive 2 and a positive 5, and our end result is positive 7. So to demonstrate that, so you take your blue tiles, because the blue tiles represent our positive. So what you're going to do is put 2 of the blue tiles one side, and then you're going to put 5 of the blue tiles on the other side, right? Each one representing a tile. Open them out so that we can actually see that we have 2 and we're adding 5, right? So if you count up all of the blue tiles, you will get
7.
and notice the 7 tiles are in the same color scheme, right? So they're all what?
Positive.
Positive. Wonderful. So that is one example of same sign. On the other hand, if I have minus 2 or negative 2 added to negative 5, what do you think I will get?
Three.
All right, so before you guess, so negative 2, so switch out your blue tiles for your red tiles. Right, so you have 2 of the negative tiles. Let's put the blue ones further up. And put 5 of the negative tiles. What do you notice? Count them up.
7.
7 what?
7 tiles.
But what is the color as it relates to the number?
Red.
Red represent?
Negative.
Negative. So your answer is?
7.
What kind of 7?
Negative.
Negative 7. So your answer is negative 7. So what is the key point here? So the key point here is, coming back to our blue tiles, right? So we had two blue tiles indicating positive 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right? So when we add 2 sets of positive, our answer is always positive. Wonderful. And then when we're adding 2 sets of negative, or 2 negative numbers, our answer is negative. See that? Great. All right. So let's say we have 3 plus 2. What's our answer?
4. 5.
5. What kind of 5?
Positive.
Positive 5. Great. So if I have minus 3 added to minus 2, my answer is, right away,
Negative.
negative 5. So the point to note here is that negative added to another negative number will give you a negative number, and a positive number added to another positive number will give you a negative number added to another negative number will give you a negative number, right? A positive number added to another positive number will give you a positive number. Get the idea? So in terms of negatives, you can think in terms of, somebody, you went to the market and you bought some apples and all of the apples were bad, right? And then your friend brought over some apples too, and those apples were bad. So do you have good apples or but just a bunch of bad apples?
Bunch of bad.
That's the idea. So negative added to negative will always give you negative. All right? Great. Now what happens when these numbers or the integers have different signs? Right? So one number can be negative and the other number is positive. What happens there? So demonstrate that, this is what we're going to have here. So we're going to have 3 plus minus 2. So I'm adding two different signs there. All right? Now this can also be written as 3 minus 2. Right? So these two concepts are the same. All right? So we'll come back to this in a bit. So what you will do for me is that you will take 3 of the positive tiles, right? Nazario? So you're going to take 3 of the positive tiles because the positive tiles are represented in blue. Just lay them out on the table in front of you. 1, 2, 3. Good. And then you're taking 2 of the negative tiles. Put them on there. Now what happens, this is what is going to happen. So let me replicate your blue tiles here. So let me use it like that. Is that blue? That's green. Let me use blue. So we have 1, 2, 3 blues. Those are your blue tiles. And then we have 1, 2. Right? 2 of the red tiles, which indicates minus 2. Now what is going to happen here is that a minus and a plus is going to cancel out, right? So this is like a minus 1. Oh. Right? So this is like if you have 3 tiles, right? Minus 1, minus 1. Sorry, blue is positive. So it's a plus 1, plus 1, plus 1. Or you can say 1, 1, 1, right? Because remember, we just said that if you don't see the sign, the number is positive. So I can have 1, each one of them representing one of the tiles, right? Now it relates to the red tiles. That's a minus 1 and a minus 1. So what is going to happen is that these two tiles will cancel out. So you have a cancellation with these two. A negative and a positive will cancel. A negative and a positive will cancel. So how many tiles remaining?
1.
1 tile. But what kind of one?
Positive.
A positive 1 remains. All right? Next concept. Just indicate the page here. If I have 4 plus minus 6, right? So in terms of tiles, so represent that. So in the previous case, right? So these two tiles here, these two will cancel to give you 0. These two will cancel to give you 0. So you have 1 blue tile remaining, which represents positive 1, right? So what you're going to do for me is to represent what we have there, 4 plus minus 6. It's 4 blue tiles. Don't put them too far, right? And line them up in the other set. Good. And you need 6 of the negative ones. How many tiles you have here? So you're supposed to have 6 of the red ones. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So put away the others. All right, so let me see your cancellations as it relates to 0. Which two are going to give you 0, right? Put that aside. Put that aside. Good. So we have 4 zeros. So how many remaining?
2.
2 what?
Negative.
Negative 2. Great. Negative 2. All right, so if you replicate what she has, or had, 4 of the blue ones, 3, 4, and then for the negative, the red tiles, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so what happened is that these two will give us 0, these two will give us 0, right? These two will give us 0, these two will give us 0. So what remains are 2 tiles. And since the red represents negative, our answer is negative. So coming back here, so what is the difference? So let me put this on the other page. 3 plus minus 2. Our answer is positive 1. What do you observe? All right, so there's a rule for that. So the rule is saying, so once you have different signs, it's similar to subtracting. So you're finding the difference of the two numbers, right? So once you have different signs, you're finding the difference of the two numbers, but the answer is going to take the sign of the number which appears greater, right? Now the term for in mathematics for that is the absolute value you're taking, right? So later on you're going to understand what absolute value means, but for us to communicate, right? So we're going to say that the answer will take the sign of the number which appears greater, right? So let's look at 4 plus minus 6. So 4 plus minus 6, right? You subtract the two numbers. So that would be 6 take away 4. So 6 take away 4 will give us 2, all right? Now, which number appears greater?
6.
The 6. What is the sign for the 6?
Minus.
Minus. So hence your answer is minus 2. Does that make sense? Great. And then we have 3 plus minus 2. Two different signs. So the rule says subtract or find the difference. So 3 take away 2 will give us 1, right? Now, we know we're having a 1. Now, which number appears greater?
3
What is the sign?
plus.
Plus. So it's positive. So that's why we have a positive 1 here. All right? So you can indicate like that or without. So you get the idea? Mm-hmm. Good. So let's recap a bit. So if the signs are the same, what will happen to the answer?
It will be positive.
Right. So if you have two positives when you're adding, your answer is always
The same.
positive. Right? If you're adding two negative, your answer will be
Negative.
negative. Now when you have two different signs, what do?
Minus.
You subtract or you find the difference, but the answer takes the value of the number which appears greater, right? So I'm using the word appears, right? So you check and see which one of the numbers appears greater, and your answer will take the sign of that number, right? So that's how we more or less get over that concept. In reality, negative 2 is actually smaller than positive 3, or negative 6 is actually smaller than 4 in reality, right? But as it relates to their signs, right, we're saying we're taking the absolute value, but to the word to replace absolute value would be the one that appears, or the words, right, the ones that appear greater. Great. So let's have some fun with some of them. So we have 3 plus minus 7. So that's the first one. 3 plus minus 7. Do you want to use the tiles to get the concept, or you think you're okay with the rule?
Okay.
So what is the rule here? Are the signs different or the same?
Different.
Different. So what is the rule?
Minus.
You subtract. So she's doing it mentally, right?
4 is the answer.
So 7 take away 3 will give us 4. Now
Negative 4.
negative 4. She's got it. Negative 4. All right. What about the second one? Minus 10 plus 12. Let me increase this size a bit. Let me take it down. All right. Minus 10 plus 12. So let me write it here. Minus 10 plus 12.
You minus
Minus what?
10 by 12.
So 12 take 10 gives us
2.
2. Right? So which number appears greater?
And 12.
What is the sign for 12?
Greater.
It's
Positive.
positive. So your answer will be
Positive.
positive 2. So we can just write as 2. All right. All right. What about number 3? So we have 1, 2, number 3. Number 3 becomes minus 5 plus 8. So this is like that. Again.
Minus 5 and 2.
That's minus 5 and 8, right? Good.
3.
What kind of 3?
Positive 3.
Why is it positive 3?
Plus 8 is greater than the 5.
And the sign for 8 is?
Positive.
Exactly. Good. We're moving nicely. Number 4. No, well, no. Let me give you some harder stuff. Minus 12 added to minus 1. So you need to ask yourself, are the signs the same or are they different?
The same.
Great. So your answer is?
13.
What kind of 13?
Negative.
Negative 13. Wonderful. All right. So let's go down a bit and let's check out number 13, which says minus 4 added to 6, and I'm adding minus 3. So I have 3 numbers now instead of 2. So how would you tackle this?
4 plus 3 is 7.
So you're going with a negative, that's great. So you're grouping all the negatives together. All right, so she's grouping minus 4 plus minus 3 to give you?
7.
All right, so she's
7.
negative 7, and you're adding negative 7 to 6. And so you're?
Minusing.
Great.
And then you have a negative 1.
Great. Wonderful. So you're doing great. All right, so have you done this before?
No.
Wonderful. So at least you've learned something here, and I like the fact that you're doing it mentally, right? That is wonderful. That is very, that's commendable, Azaria. Very much commendable. All right. Now, what could have happened here as well? You could have used the, let me show you on another page here. Minus 4 plus 6 ouch, sorry, I'm supposed to go previous. Minus 4 plus 6 plus minus 3. All right, so just now you group all of the like terms together here, right? So you went with minus 4 plus minus 3, and then you added the 6. So you got minus 7 plus 6, and so your answer was minus 1. All right, that's great. Now what you could have done as well is that you could have had minus 4 plus 6 added to minus 3. So you could have done the first 2, right? So, okay. So if you had done the first 2, you would have had 2 different signs there, right? Minus 4 plus 6. So you would have gotten what there?
Two.
What kind of 2?
Positive.
Positive 2. And you're adding that to minus 3. So you have another
And
2.
you'll get a negative 1.
Yes. Yes. Oh, so you could have done like that. So any order you could have done that. Great. So previous. So you want to try minus 9 plus 4 plus 7? Let's put the demarcation here. think it's minus 9 plus 4 plus 7. Let me move the cursor a bit. Yes.
9 minus 4.
Mm-hmm.
Is 6. And
Careful
negative.
how you're subtracting, right? Right. So just be careful.
9 minus 4 is a negative 6.
9 and 4. Careful. 9 take away 4.
9 take away 4. 5.
5.
And
What kind of 5?
a negative 5.
A negative 5.
And 5 minus 7.
So it's a minus 5 plus 7. And so you're doing what again?
And 2. A positive 2.
Positive 2. Yay. Let me give you a smiley face. Smiley face. So she got it right. So you got the concept. All right? So to recap a bit, let's see if I can make next page. All right. So to recap. All right? So the sum of two positive number is a positive number. So we've established that, right? Using our tiles. And we've seen it when we've done the algorithm, all right? So the sum of two positive number is a positive number, all right? Secondly, the sum of two negative number, so this has to be number, not, all right? So this is number, sum. So the sum of two negative number is a negative number. The sum of a positive number and a negative number, all right, so you have to find the difference between the numbers, and then the sign of the bigger absolute value is placed before the result, right? So that's a lot of words there. So all it means is that the number which appears greater, right, you're taking the sign of that number. That's what it means. Simple English language. Okay, so she's taking some notes. All right, so our algebraic tiles, our tiles today, help us to navigate through the addition of integers as it relates to when the signs are the same. So when the signs are the same, you can either have two negative numbers or two positive numbers, all right? Alright, so just recapping, the sum of two positive number is a positive number. The sum of two negative number is a negative number. And so when the signs are different, you find the difference, and the answer takes the sign of the number which appears greater. Alright? So I'm happy that it was that you understood the concept, because I know at primary school they would tell you cannot subtract, you can't take a bigger number from a small number, right? Right, so you don't go into that zone. But as soon as you hit secondary school, well, then you see it's possible. All right, so negative and positive numbers are used in terms of like if you owe something, right? So let's say you went to the shop. So we're just going to use that as a real life example. You went to the shop, right? And you wanted an item that probably cost $10, right? But all you had was $8. So it means how much money you would have owed. So the item costs $10, but all you have is $8. So it means you had to give, or you have to give the shopkeeper $2 more, right? So that owing, right, is referred to as a negative value, right? Something like that, right? So item costs $10, right? Zaria has $8, right? So it means Zaria, well, you want the item so badly, your life is dependent on this item which costs $10, so you have to get this item, right? So it means you owe, right? So you would owe the shopkeeper, you owe how much? $2. And so we represent $2 like that, right? So there's a deficit. So you have a deficit of -2. Get the idea? Mm-hmm. That's how it works in real life, all right? And so let's say your mom now said, hello, Azaria. You remember that thing that you took for $10 and you owe that $2? All right, I'm going to give you $5 now. So your mom gives you $5 to go and pay. All right? So now you have to clear off that debt. So you pay. So from the $5, you're taking out your $2 that you owe the guy, right? Or the shopkeeper. So how much money you have left?
3.
You have $3 remaining. And that's a positive $3 you have remaining out of that. You get the idea? So that's how it works. That's how it works in real life. So when you owe something, there's a deficit. So it's represented as a negative value. All right? When you clear that debt, you add up points. All right? Any questions?
No.
All right. So after today, right, I'm hoping that as you move into secondary school, Form 1, Form 2, right up, you do not have issues adding integers. All right? So remember, once the signs are the same, example, they're both positive, your answer is always going to be positive. If the numbers are both negative, your answer is always going to be negative. If the signs are different, however, what do you have to do?
Subtract.
Subtract. And your answer will take the sign of the number which
It's bigger.
appears bigger or larger. That's it. All right? So thank you for being a good student today as it relates to addition of integers. And so in the next session, we'll examine how we subtract. All right? So thank you for watching. Those of you who are watching online, see you next time.